like a short PowerPoint. I want to make it nice. So, and we're always open to discussion. So, okay, so what's its purpose? So, I was actually researching the purpose of money itself. And, if you want to understand cryptocurrency, you kind of got to get the idea of money. So if you go back historically, since the beginning of mankind, we've always been infatuated either with paper currency, coin currency. However, as the Federal Reserve has been printing more and more, currency, there's been inflation. So what engineers have been creating is something called cryptocurrency, which is kind of like an idea of formulating digital tokens, which can be used to exchange, except there's not necessarily any value backed by them. The dollar's had a couple of things, whether it be silver or gold, but cryptocurrency, it's no more than the value of the digital signals it has. So really the value is the speed and efficiency. So this is just kind of like what the idea around it is. And anyone else, came in, Nick, guys, feel free to chime in. Every slide I'll stop and see if you want to add anything, but just kind of like an open-ended discussion.
I guess I'll chime in now because I've been exploring business. Even though I'm majoring in computer science, I want to continue majoring in computer science. I've always been really interested by the idea of like business and money. And it's so interesting that we've always had either a dollar backed by like the gold or silver standard. But now the American dollar's power just comes from, well, it's the American dollar. There's no backing, but hey, it's the American dollar, man. And for some reason that's working. And it's so weird that the more you learn about money, the more you learn that it's kind of meaningless. Because the only thing that honestly, like the only reason like money, like the dollar bill isn't as volatile as cryptocurrency is because there's a physical thing that you can hold and like people are comforted by that. But otherwise, it's like the same thing where it's like there's no backing. There's really nothing other than like saying I can't charge you like $50 for this $5 candy bar because okay, you don't have a gold standard. Like you give me like something that has a gold standard, I'll trust that more. It's just this crazy idea that money is only as valuable as we all agree it is. And that's like nuts.
Good, Nick, man, I really appreciate. Oh, who is this? Nick came in.
Oh, that was Cayman. Sorry.
Oh, my bad, Nick came in.
Nah, it's
So
cool. First meeting, don't worry about it.
no, dude. So I really appreciate you chiming in. That was a great analysis right there. And I agree 100%. Definitely, money is one thing, and it is. I think it was Reagan or Bush that one of them took off the gold standard of the dollar. So like, hey guys, and if anyone else wants to chime in, please feel free. But yeah, Nick gave it great. Or sorry, came in. Okay, I guess next slide. What do we got here? This will just click. There we go. So I got a little video here, just no more than a minute. I pulled literally a section of it. Sorry if the voice not in sync, but he's kind of going to explain a little bit more what I was talking about.
I don't think we can hear the audio. Do you guys hear it?
Don't tell me.
Can't hear it.
Oh, great. Okay. Oh no, who left?
Try to reshare and
Well, hold up. I have to share the audio. I know exactly what the give me a second. Share sound. There we go.
The insights you need.
You got here now?
Yep. Yeah, I can hear it now.
Insights you need to better navigate this turbulent world. Bitcoin is the new darling of investors. It has rocketed since March from $5,000 to over $40,000 before pulling back a bit. Fans are predicting the rise will resume and that this cryptocurrency is headed for $100,000 or higher. People are piling in because of a lack of faith in government currencies. The Federal Reserve and other central banks have crushed interest rates and are printing unimaginable amounts of money to pay for COVID relief measures and to stimulate damaged economies. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are now seen as a respectable investment class, and financial institutions are adding it to their portfolios. Enthusiasts say Bitcoin is the new gold and that it'll eventually.
Yeah, that's just pretty much it. Little section gives a little bit of context behind this. There's a whole video on YouTube about it, but this is just what we were talking about.
I'm Steve Forbes.
Oops. Okay. All right. So here we go into
I
the
love
thing
the
about crypto.
animation.
I know. Okay, the anime. Yeah, you'll see the last slide. It's going to be quite interesting. But so basically, there's two types of Bitcoin. Sorry, not Bitcoin. Cryptocurrencies in the lead. And without you can't mention Bitcoin without talking cryptocurrency, and it's very important. And it's usually like pretty much the top of the hierarchy as far as we know. But there's two types: there's Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then the market's filled with so many others. You know, there's Dogecoin, like, which is pretty much I don't know if it's real or not, but like. So we have Bitcoin developed in 2009. So the person who developed it, Satoshi Nakamoto, we don't know if he exists or not. They found actually one guy who had the same name, but he wasn't the Satoshi Nakamoto we're talking about. They've been pretty much on the search for him for a while. Still haven't discovered who he is. On the other hand, Ethereum's been developed by Vitalik Buterin. Putin wants, he actually lives in the United States, but Putin wants him back in Russia because he's a very valuable asset. So looking more into logistics of this, Bitcoin is more like of a currency, kind of like token based. As you know, Cayman, was mentioned beforehand. It doesn't have any value, but it is very quick, reliable, and that's why people love it. I'm sure many of you guys have learned about this, but it's still important to refresh and understand. On the other hand, we have Ethereum. Ethereum is more like of a contract-based cryptocurrency. So think about it. You're going to make a contract, and you need some type of blockchain to verify that contract won't be changed. Sometimes people like to go and interpret contracts differently or change the terms, but this will ensure its credibility and integrity. And as far as the encryption goes, Bitcoin uses the secure hash algorithm by 256-bit, and then Ethereum uses ETH hash, which is a little bit of a new algorithm, but they're both very secure. Oh, yeah, blockchain. You can't talk about cryptocurrency without mentioning blockchain. Blockchain is very important. Blockchain is basically the networking behind cryptocurrency. And I'm just going to explain it very basically. And at the end, to anyone, if they want to chime in, please go ahead. But blockchain basically is a way of keeping these transactions within a chain that's reliable and doesn't change. Traditionally, you'd keep all transactions where I'll kind of put, well, I have the answer here, but like traditionally, you'd kind of keep the transactions in a central database server. You'd have them like in a bank or some type of middleman. This takes the idea away because hackers ultimately now don't have a central target, and that makes it a lot tougher for them. On top of that, you have verification from each party. So really how it works is each person, they make a transaction. That itself is a logical block, not a physical block, but a digital block that exists on the internet. And another person makes a transaction. That block gets attached to the next block, and therefore you have blockchain, the whole idea behind it. And I'll show a video in a second that explains it better than how I do. But any series of blocks or a section of blocks, like one chain is pretty much called a ledger. And then to the left, you have the graph, and it's kind of complicated, but like generally the video I'll show you in a sec will explain it a little better. So sound sharing.
Digital or virtual currency that run on a technology known as blockchain. Thanks to blockchain, cryptocurrencies are immune to counterfeiting, don't require a central authority, and are protected by strong and complex encryption algorithms. And in a market of more than thousands of cryptocurrencies like Litecoin, Ethereum, Zcash, and so on, one reigns supreme: Bitcoin. Now, let's go back to our previous example and have Phil, Ted, and Sam send Jack 2 Bitcoins each as their contribution to the previous night's dinner. Let's assume Phil, Ted, and Sam have 3 Bitcoins in reserve, while Jack has 5. First, Phil sends 2 Bitcoins to Jack. A record is created in the form of a block. The transaction details between them is permanently inscribed in this block. This record also holds the number of Bitcoins each of the friends own. So, after Phil's transaction, Jack has 7 Bitcoins, while Phil has 1. Following this, Sam and Ted send 2 Bitcoins to Jack. A new block is created for each of these transactions. These blocks hold the transaction details as well as how many Bitcoins Sam, Ted, and Jack have in reserve. These blocks are linked to each other, as each of them takes reference from the previous one for the number of Bitcoins each friend owns. This chain of records, or blocks, is called a ledger. And this ledger is shared among all the friends, which acts as a public distributed ledger. This
So yeah, that's pretty much basics of blockchain. Again, there's like whole 20-minute videos on it, but this really formulates like that whole baseline if you want to understand. And again, I'm going to open discussion right now. Does anyone know a little bit more, want to add, have some opinions on it, think it's untrustworthy?
I think it's perfect. I think it's cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of like what
Definitely
banks
cool.
do already.
Yeah, I thought this was really interesting. This just sort of, I guess I didn't know the visual helps because I've heard about this, but like now I feel like I have to kind of know about this.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Excellent, excellent. I'm actually very happy to hear that.
Curious about all you guys in general. Like, what's your knowledge? How would you rate your like knowledge from 1 to 5 about crypto? Like, just the basics.
Like
I
two.
I put myself like a 2 or a 3.
A solid one.
Excellent. I mean, that's no problem because that's what we're here for, and we're all learning together. So I'm glad that this presentation and the video, like, once you understand this, you're basically in the 1%. So the fact that one of you guys mentioned that you understand it now and you know it is very powerful because if you get this, you seriously can get a good job or even invest. It's a big deal. But it is really cool, in fact. And then we'll discuss more at the end.
A form of digital or
Okay, implications. So what's the future behind cryptocurrency? So basically, in my opinion, there are different views on this, but this is just generally what the overall trends forecast. So soon, the rise of inflation may render the US dollar invalid. So we were talking about this earlier, simply the Federal Reserve keeps on printing and printing money, and we don't know what the deal is. If you go back to World War II or World War I, even Germany, it got to the point that they were using their dollar bills for wallpaper. And if this happens, we're going to have a bunch of useless paper notes lying around. So what are we going to go to? Crypto might be that hope. Overall, people who have been using it have primarily been like the companies who are using it like just kind of to play around with it. The only time you're going to probably use Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in a transaction is if you get hit by ransomware and they ask you for, hey, give me 300 Bitcoin. Otherwise,
It's like
more.
$1,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. $1,000. Most of the time it's
I
like
don't even
500,
know.
600, but it's, and then what was next? All right. And then also the uniqueness of blockchain in that
It's
it keeps it open.
$56,000 for just one Bitcoin.
Oh, you were looking that up? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about investing in a sec. But investment is definitely a big deal. But
I heard a
it's
friend
insane.
just sold his Bitcoin before the boom, and he regrets it so thoroughly.
Exactly. And you're gonna see like a picture I put in the end that kind of shows that, but like the definitely so it's good for cybersecurity. It keeps those chains blocked together. And they're not necessarily can be replicated. So as we were talking beforehand, those chains, they all have to be verified by each other. So if one person tries to create a false chain, all the other users will reject it. So it's pretty secure process. And as for one right now, it's not really the most stable currency. As we know, it's very as Cayman mentioned, it's a kind of volatile. Simply it's just online, and on top of that we got hackers and stuff like that. So for a while, currency itself will remain dominant. And this slide, I'm just going to leave. If anyone wants to chime in, have some discussions, if anyone's invested. I don't think any of you guys have invested before, but if anyone's had any experience or other opinions.
Yeah, this is pretty funny.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, what with the whole like GameStop boom, I'm like, I've been thinking about delving into like investing and managing my money better. And so now I'm like actually doing it. Now I'm working on building a legit portfolio, but I still don't know enough to be confident to invest in cryptocurrency. But I think
Definitely,
it's very interesting that like there's this whole other world of where you've got like Dogecoin, and from what I understand, to my best knowledge, Elon Musk is like, yeah, no, if you want to buy a Tesla and Dogecoin, we'll take it. And then meanwhile, you have cryptocurrency, and you just have the constant like busts and booms, and it's so interesting to like analyze and look at from an investing perspective to try and understand what's going on. And even if I don't know enough to invest myself, I feel like I'm bettering my investment skills just by learning about this.
Excellent, excellent. And I'm glad you go ahead and you shared that. So one aspect of investing overall is cryptocurrency. So, you maybe hear people talking about 401ks as well as, going into new companies, particularly whether it be Chipotle, Microsoft, but definitely, when it comes to investing, one of them, a lot of people do include cryptocurrency. And the more you learn about it and you learn the pattern, you can make a lot of money. But as you see to the right, if it doesn't go too well for you, and you do lose a lot of money in that business, for example, you buy it for the value it is right now, which is roughly, I mean, if anyone could look it up, I guess $6,000. But then you lose all that money, end up losing $5,000. We just don't know. It's simply gambling, pretty much. But
I do have a thought.
Yeah, what's your thought?
So I've realized some like investors like what is a Charlie Munger and all those guys, their principles are like if somebody's investing in something like a ton of money, that's when you want to sell. When things are high, that's when you want to sell. When things are low, that's when you want to buy or something like that.
Oh yeah,
And I think
totally.
that trend has been in crypto for sure. When everybody started panicking and losing on Bitcoin, there was a giant fall where everybody sold and then there's people buying. And that was the best time because everybody's pessimistic about its future. And then it just snapped.
Yeah, the fact that you mentioned that's very important because if you look at the Great Depression, the buyers who weren't pessimistic and they saw the opportunity, like in 1920 when all the stock, or sorry, 1929 when all the stocks dropped, they came and they bought all those little stocks, and the next thing you know, they become like billionaires after the Great Depression. All these companies that lost their value eventually gained it after World War II. So right now we're seeing the same implication with cryptocurrency. And the smart people in 2009, 2010 who bought it and held on, right now, make a good amount of money depending on how many Bitcoins they bought. But that brings us to the end.
Yeah. If I may chime in real quick, this came in.
Go ahead, please, please.
Yeah. You had it actually a bit backwards. You want to sell when it's high, buy when it's low. But yeah, that's not just Bitcoin, but like pretty much all of investing. From what I've learned so far and what I'm doing, you want to buy like you were saying, you want to buy when times are bad, like in the depressions when people are like, "Oh, this is worthless," because then you buy like you buy like one Bitcoin for like it was 30,000, now it's 5,000. You buy it for 5,000 when they're like, "Oh no, Bitcoin's gonna end." You buy it then, and then when it recovers to like 35,000, that's a little like I bought this for they had it for 20. They sold to me for 5. I buy it for 5. It's 35. I sell this. I make $30,000. You just gotta invest. All investing is from so far from what I've learned is just learning and reading impacts on the market that cause it to rise and fall, and gauging when the best time to buy low and then when the best time to sell high is. And it's half art form, half science from my perspective right now, but I'm learning more and it's really cool. And like, for example, the stock market, because that's what I'm currently invested in. Back in when COVID first hit, literally about a year ago, you can see this giant spike that's a solid depression when everyone's like, okay, well, COVID just took over the world because it was only supposed to be 2 weeks and now it's like months and months. That's when everything was rock bottom. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of money then. I got my money back from a cruise I was going to go on. I got my full refund later. If I had that money then, what I would have done is I would have invested when the market was low, and then once it recovers, like it's recovered for the most part now, compared to then, I would have sold it now. I'm currently looking for the next low, and investing in stocks in particular. I don't know a ton about cryptocurrency, but I assume it follows the same logic of sell high, buy low.
Yeah, it does.
You just gotta wait for you just gotta wait for your time, pick it, and then once you buy, wait. It's gonna be a long waiting game, and you're gonna have some self doubt. But if you can like go over the self-doubt, and you just gotta have like sort of like a broad global awareness of what's going on, which might sound a bit complicated, but like once you just it's not too hard to like hear from word of mouth, like someone say like, oh, you just kind of sort of I'm not sure how much sense I'm making, but you gotta sort of use common sense to some degree. And like if there's a global pandemic, the market's gonna fall. Once the vaccine comes into full swing, the market's gonna rise back again. Same thing I imagine with cryptocurrency. That's pretty much all I have to say on that. But yeah.
Excellent.
That was
I
excellent.
totally agree. It does follow the same logic in many ways. And you see, you can use that investing knowledge. You're going to see that by using that knowledge of the market and ups and downs, you could be successful in the cryptocurrency investing market. So that's good. Okay, anyone else? Navi, who else is here?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Navi, does everything make sense so far? Because it sounded like you were not familiar with this topic at all. So
I mean, I just heard about it, so I wasn't like, I didn't have any like base knowledge, but yeah, it's slowly starting to make some sense now because it isn't like, some teacher just teaching me like the overall. Like you guys are teaching it actually and explaining it really well, like the details and like, finding a simpler way to explain everything. So
That's what we hope. I don't want to lecture. Just kind of want to make it fun. Like that's the whole point of this club. We want to make it nice. Chill. Nothing stressful. The teachers I notice most of the days, they're reading off the slides. They don't bring any implications. They don't make it come to life. So like, that's what we want to do here. Make it come to life. And
do an opinion. You let
Yep.
other people talk. Hopefully. So I want to show you guys a website. It's called
Yeah, go ahead. Let me
CoinMarketCap.
stop my share. There you go. Yeah, I see yours.
So this is CoinMarketCap. So this gives you pretty much how much how much is the coin actually valued. This could tell you like instant, like second time, like, hey, what is going on? Has it went up? Has it went down? Stuff like that. It's just kind of cool to look at. I mean, honestly, I don't know anything. I don't know Tether, Cardano, it's XRP. I know XRP was huge with banks because it was very, very convenient for them to put a ton of money and just ship it off to another country without any like conversions and this and that. So this is pretty much, these are the most popular currencies on the market. BitTorrent, what? When did BitTorrent become a